Are you ready to start this episode review? Nope. I hate this episode. I usually avoid watching this like the plague. Me too. But we have to get this over with. Can we do it later and just do a top 10 Arthur vid instead? You know we can't. And they, our audience, know since, they clicked on this video. But I don't want to. We have to, in order to get this out of the way to make room for even more fun Arthur reviews and other stuff. Fine. But can we make this video less than 5 minutes long? Because I don't want to spend time with this episode more than I have to. This is Arthur's Big Hit, with a stupid episode with a moral that's unbalanced and deserves to never exist in the first place. Written by Joe Fallon and storyboarded by Robert Yap. And everyone else who was responsible for making this episode. Let's get started, I suppose. The unexpected audience, that's us, begins this episode with this before the title card sequence, and also revealing that DW was Binky the whole time, while the real DW laughs. Well, that was weird. Haven't seen anything like that since this episode before the title sequence. You all know what it is. Arthur is building a model of an airplane that broke the sound barrier, and throughout the days, DW keeps bugging him, and all gets worse when she accidentally breaks it. And there it is, folks, Arthur's fist. The fist to behold, a grip of anger, the most famous Arthur meme on this internet. For the internet to judge this entire show. Will I make a video in the very far away distance of the future centering around this stupid meme that shouldn't exist? I certainly will! After the TVY rating censors Arthur's fist contact with DW's arm, DW runs away crying as Arthur mourns the destruction of his plane. And then his mom calls for him using his full name. Uh-oh, middle name.
In a world where your mom calling you by your first, middle, and last name can only mean danger.
Arthur gets punished and he feels like it's unfair. DW did break the plane after all, but they don't show them punishing her because there isn't enough screen time. Because we need to make room for Binky's plotline of him avoiding Arthur in order to not punch him. That could have easily been scrapped and saved for another episode starring Binky dealing with his peer pressure of doing something violent. But instead, they decide to cram 2 morals into this episode. Stupid. They should have shown DW's side of the story of her being punished and it feeling like it's unfair for her. Eventually, Arthur gets punched. Karma. Later, his dad tends to Arthur's internal wound as Arthur complains how much it hurts. His dad uses this as an excuse to tell him that this was how DW felt. Arthur apologized to DW and she apologizes to him. And in order for that to happen, Arthur had to be punched. How lame. Binky apologizes to Arthur and Arthur thanks him.
You what?
And the episode ends. So Arthur gets punished, but we don't see DW get punished because of a unnecessary plot line of the episode that stars mostly Binky and not Arthur. Binky's name isn't even in the title. And personally, I think this episode should be called The Big Hit. Or was I? Oh yeah. We don't see DW get punished, or know if Binky gets punished. If it was said in this episode that Binky got punished, I doubt they would show it because of the time length. After rewatching this episode, I still hate it. But the 3 good things about this episode is that we got to see Arthur in 2 other outfits than his usual one, Buster saying something funny, and DW and Arthur both playing pretend and acting like kids. So with those 3 good things, I will present this episode with a D+. There. I'm done with the worst episode of this series. Are you happy? So this episode is equally as bad as Arthur's missing pal, I suppose. If I was told I was going to die and the only way I was going to survive if I were to watch a terrible 11-minute episode or a terrible movie, I would choose Arthur's Missing Pal. Not because I like it, but because it has more happy moments than this episode. That makes sense. Hello, SV. Sorry to intrude. I had to know why you haven't been answering my phone calls. SV, who is this? Go on, SV. Introduce us to each other. OV, this is EPV. EPV, this is OV. It's a pleasure to finally meet you in person. You're more fascinating than the way SV described you from her observations. What on MacBook Air is she talking about? That was a bad joke the writer wrote for this episode. No wonder why she conjured me up. She? She who? SV, please tell me what's going on. She isn't allowed to tell you a thing, or it will jeopardize our plan. Plan? SV, were you planning to stab me in the back? But what about our hot fudge sundae? The sugar bowl? This is getting too pathetic. SV, send her to the other dimension. It's what you always wanted. Now, push her. I can't. You know what will happen if you don't. Now push her through the portal, or else I will have to question your loyalty to your own dreams. Are you happy? Doesn't matter how I feel, or else that would lose the whole point of my character. The question you should be asking yourself is, if you are happy. Yes. After rewatching this episode, I still hate it.
Anybody want to make something of it?
No?